Muay Thai tomorrow for the first time in months since my surgery last year. I haven't
Hell
gone
yeah.
in like almost a year and a half, and I got to get my ass back because I saw my kicks
God, that's funny because
recently.
one of the questions I have, well, I guess first I'll say because recording this, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate
Of
it.
course, of course.
Short story, like when I was 2020, it's COVID. I'm depressed as fuck, gained a lot of weight. I'm sitting inside. I find Joseph Montecilio's channel. I get really into All Japan, and then I
Yeah,
get really into Eddie Kingston. So the fact that I've come this far at this point is partially your fault. So you can
I'll
take some
take it.
responsibility for this. Yeah.
I'll take it. I'll take it. I take responsibility for everything anyway. People don't like me, that's fine. People don't like what I like, that's fine. I don't care. It's an opinion. I don't care.
But you were just mentioning Muay Thai. I was going to ask about your relationship with Muay Thai because you're not necessarily the first guy people think about when think about guys with that shoot credibility. But I did notice when you're, especially when you're wrestling Danielson, you started checking those leg kicks, and it made me so happy because, funnily enough, this Friday I'm going to go to Muay Thai for the first time in months because I train on the summer, but during the school year I'm in college, so can't do that. But yeah, you said you've been doing it for a long time. Tell me about your relationship with Muay Thai.
Been doing it for about, I like
Oh.
to say, oh, I like to say I've been doing it for about 8 years now. And it
Hmm.
all started because an ex-girlfriend found a school that was near us, American Top Team, East Orlando.
Hmm.
And she just went, "You want to try this?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure," because I boxed when I was like a teenager, and I
Hmm.
always loved boxing, and I did it and whatever, and then also street fighting and wrestling. So you know what I mean. I fought a lot in my life. So and then I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with uh like the part that made me fall in love with it more was the like setting guys up.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I would throw the jab a certain way to see where they would go, or if they would how they would parry it if they went too far, and like I could fake and then get a hook, like that kind of stuff. Or reading your opponent, or even when you can't read your opponent. You know what I mean? You try to go with your
Hmm.
game plan, and I'm pretty simple. I'm
Hmm.
head, body, head. And if I have my way, it would be all body because it seems like guys don't like to protect the body. My hips don't want to move too well. So when I do throw a high kick, there's a lot of lean on those high kicks from me. But I do love throwing calf kicks and leg kicks. I love setting that up. I just fell in love with it, and then I kept doing it. And then I had two Muay Thai fights, and went 1-1, and it was just so much fun. And I just kept doing it, and I never really brung it into wrestling. It was more just because I like my style that
Hmm.
I do because it fits me.
Hmm.
Or I take from my inspirations, which were ECW, Memphis Wrestling, and All Japan Pro Wrestling. So, and then I try to add my spice to it,
Hmm.
and then just mix it up. And there's Eddie Kingston. But when I'm in there with certain guys, like you said, Brian, or other guys, like if I'm in there with Claudio, I'm eating up his legs because he
Hmm.
has skinny legs, and I know he hates it when I say that, and I hope that's clipped and put on a clickbait thing. Eddie Kingston thinks Claudio has skinny legs. That's why I attack him every time. I'm not
John
really that
Jones
small.
legs.
Yeah, he does. Very skinny. But yeah, and then I started bringing it more into my game. And then, because of Brian, I'm bringing it more and more into what I do nowadays, just to add something new to my repertoire, if you will.
Yeah, it makes sense. And like the thing, one of my biggest like pet peeves is when, and this got really bad in the indies like a few years ago, but it's like the faux boxing spot when people just put up like the worst guard you've ever seen and start throwing jabs. But because guys like you have done it, they can make it look kind of authentic once you're doing that. So I've just really appreciated seeing that
Yeah.
recently.
Thank you. It's kind of hard not to make it authentic because I
Yeah.
will get my trainer who doesn't watch wrestling a lot,
Mm.
but will watch if I ask him to certain matches. He would sometimes be like, "Hey, by the way, your hands were low. This and if I do it in the match, he'd be like, your hands were low, this and that. You didn't turn your hip. You didn't, and I'm like, I know. I
Hmm.
know. You know what I mean? So I just don't want to hear from him, even though he's younger than me, my trainer. I respect the fact that he trained me. And he it also helped me during a very dark time. And it seems like there's always dark times, but there is, but you find your way through it. I'm a believer in that. You
Hmm.
always find your way through it. And Muay Thai actually helped me through it. Training for those two fights, having fight camps, and actually going to Muay Thai 3 times a day, and then doing cardio and then lifting light just to get ready so I wouldn't have an adrenaline dump like I did the first time I fought. Is the worst feeling in the world. I don't wish
Oh.
that. Maybe I wish it on Claudio and other people, but I don't wish it really on anyone else. Because man, when you have an adrenaline dump and you're swinging and you're like just trying to survive and you're getting beat up and you're trying to swing and you got your shot and you think you got him. I'll never forget. I threw a leg kick, and then before I put my foot back down, my right foot back down, I came with a hook. And I thought I caught the kid because the kid's eyes opened up wide when I hit him. But because my arms were so from the adrenaline dump, it feels like spaghetti. And it
Oh,
just feels
yeah.
like there's nothing behind it. And it sucks. So I don't wish anything, but it helped me through a real dark time in my life. I was going through a lot. I always go through things, but this particular time during those two fights, it was really I was in a real dark place, and because of those training camps and because of the school, which at the time was ATT East Orlando, my trainer has a new school called Modern Gladiator in Florida. That's the one I'm going to try to go to as soon as I can. But they helped me through a lot, and they know it because I told them I'm honest with it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So to me, mixed martial arts of any kind, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, Taekwondo, karate, any boxing, any mixed martial art, I encourage people to do, not to fight. You don't have to do it to
Hmm.
fight. I say just do it because it gets out. It just gets everything out, man. You're gonna have such a bad day, but then once you get there and you start training and they tell you, all right, man, start hitting that punching bag. You can think of your boss, you can think of anybody you want, and it gets it all out. It really gets it out of you. And I believe it's a healthy thing for people mentally, not just physically.
I agree 100%. You mentioned touched on your influences a second ago. We have talked. We will continue to talk about All Japan, but something I've thought about that has to be there somewhere. How big into 90s New Japan were you? Because when I look at Shinya Hashimoto, I have to assume there's some Hashimoto in what you do.
Yeah, there is. A lot of people pick up on that very quickly. Uh, I fell in love with New Japan Pro Wrestling because of the great Muda.
Hmm.
When he came in, and I'm going to date myself here if the Grays can't tell you. But 1989 was when I first saw the great Muda. That's when he came into the NWA, and he blew my mind, not just the paint and the mist. But at that time, maybe Too Cold Scorpio was the only one that was doing moonsaults or anything high flying like Muda was.
Hmm.
And Scorpio was doing 450s and stuff that blew my mind. You know what I mean? Seeing him do a 450 against Barry Windham on a Clash of Champions again when I was a kid, I still will never forget. But Muda had everything. He had the whole package, the movement, the paint, the mist, Gary Hart as his manager. So I knew him, and then Masahiro Chono
Hmm.
when he came in '92. And I remember Jim Ross, and I tell Jim Ross this, that he made the FTF sound like the deadliest submission I've never heard of. And because of that, when I found RF video and I started looking for tapes, I only was looking for tapes with Chono and Muda on it because those are the only ones I knew. And then I found Hashimoto, and I just saw how bad. There's no other words to describe that man. Just badass. What he did in that ring, everything, kicks, chops, every move he did was just. If it wasn't stiff or hurt, it looked like it did. And then I fell in love with Hashimoto, and man, those guys, the Three Musketeers, really, they were my gateway into Japanese pro wrestling because without the Three Musketeers, I would have never found the All Japan that I fell madly and deeply in
Hmm.
love with, and still think it's the greatest style of pro wrestling today, still to this day, and it
Hmm.
all started because of the Three Musketeers. And if you want to get crazy, it all started because of the NWA WCW days.
Yeah, the wanted to touch on that because I think rest in peace Hashimoto, that as much as the internet wrestling we very much picked up on because of guys like Joseph and yourself, the All Japan Four Pillars, and guys like Tenryu and Jumbo. But I don't think the Three Musketeers get nearly enough love these days for how amazing they were.
Yeah, they definitely, but also it's hard to make video essays about it
Yeah,
when.
because they'll kill me. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
and I get it. I get it. It's part of the business. It is what it is. You know what I mean?
hmm
That's why some people. I My girlfriend thinks this is great that I sign up for people's Patreons or
hmm
I give money to Kofi or whatever it is because I want to see these guys talk about the New Japan Three Musketeers. I want to see these
yeah,
guys talk about Ricky Choshu and Fujinami, who I love to death. I'm more of a Ricky Choshu guy.
I can
You can
tell.
tell the type of wrestler I like. Very hard hitting, very, nah, I wouldn't say arrogant or egotistical, just very like, I'm gonna fight you. And if you try to fight me back, I'm gonna make a face about it.
All just very square shaped wrestlers. I
Yeah,
always joke because
yeah.
I made a video on Masa Saito versus Tokyo Inoki, and I joke that I like, especially with luchadors, but this goes with like Masa Saito as well. I like my wrestlers more horizontal than vertical.
Yeah, like El Dandy. Yeah, El
Yeah.
Dandy was like that too. No, I can definitely see those are the kind of wrestlers I like. And Saito was another one who I fell in love with, especially him and Inoki when they fought and handcuffed each other with the ropes down and started just beating the piss out of it. I remember when I first saw that on tape, I was like, what is this? And I just kept rewinding it, watching it over and over again. It caught my eye. But yeah, no, I just one day I hope there's a documentary that everyone could see
hmm
about the Three Musketeers. I hope there's a documentary that people can see about how Inoki started New Japan and had Fujinami and had Ricky Choshu and all that stuff. To me, I just love the fact that we're blessed enough
hmm
that we have a lot of video essay guys who love the same things I love, and that I'm able to share it and try to get some of the younger wrestlers into it. Sometimes I got to talk to them and tell them, no, 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 no. Don't look at just the moves, please. Stop. That's not part of it. It's part of it, but that's not the main focus. But I don't blame them because that's what I did when I first started watching. There were many days when I first started on the indies where I'm the opening match and guys are getting dropped in their heads and I'm trying to go 30 minutes and everyone's like, what are you doing? So it happens, you know what I mean? But no,
hmm
I really hope one day people in the States, because I believe in Japan, everyone knows, the Three Musketeers and Inoki and Choshu and Fujinami and all that. I just hope one day that can kind of be shown in the States a little bit more.
I agree. Last year you had a lot of dream matches. Well, really since you got into AEW, that term is getting beat to death at this point. But
Yeah.
one I truly did think so, was when you faced Shingo Takagi in the G1. And of course, Takagi came out of Dragon Gate, but of course he was also mentored by Genichiro Tenryu.
Yeah.
And that's why I knew you two would just absolutely have a great one. Do you want another
Thank you.
shot at Shingo?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had nothing. I love a good fight, and that's what I had with him. You
Because
know what I mean? I can't say nothing bad about the guy. When I'm in there with someone like him or someone like Ishii, who I
hmm
can go in there and just do what I love, which is just fighting and
hmm
trying to, you know, get the people emotionally with our fighting, not just with like talking and stuff like that. That's my wheelhouse, I guess you could say. That's what I love doing. So what I would love to step back in the ring with Shingo anytime. If I had my way, I would wrestle guys like Shingo 7 days a week. My body probably wouldn't be able to take it, but mentally I would be having a blast.
Makes perfect sense. Going off from pro wrestling for a second, you said in an interview a few years ago that you had read the first two books of the A Song of Ice and Fire series. Have you finished them?
No,
Okay.
no, the show killed it for me. I was done.
Oh, that's
That's
sad.
it. Yeah, no, I argue with Orange Cassidy all the time. He's a big Game of Thrones fan and he loves the shows. And I just sit there going, "What are you talking about?" After the books were done, they killed it. It was horrible. The writing sucked out. We argue in the locker room, and just everyone looks at us like two geeks. And I'm just like, "No, no, that's great." You know. So no, we definitely argue about that. Believe it. There you go. There's another Orange Cassidy fact. He
Hmm.
loves Game of Thrones and he loves Scarface, the rapper from Houston, the King of the South.
That's an
So,
interesting combination.
yeah, he's a weird dude. Orange Cassidy. He's a weird, weird dude, man.
At PWS Refused to Lose 2 in 2011, you faced Sid Vicious in a 5-second match. I didn't know if you're going to remember this or not, but how the fuck did that happen?
It's Sid. I'm not gonna argue with him.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that's it.
I just mean the booking. Just
Oh
how
no,
did you get booked against
I
Sid?
believe I believe the promoter at the time was this kid Eric Tapout, I
Hmm.
think his name was, and he just wanted to book that match, and God bless him. He thought Sid was gonna go 20 minutes, and I was like, he's
Yeah.
that's not gonna happen. Like I don't think he's ever gone 20 minutes in his career. No, no, no. I said, all right, man, you talk to him. I'm not. I have respect for veterans,
Hmm.
whether I should or shouldn't. You know what I mean? I just have respect for them because they put years in. That's the way I was brought in the business. Was even if you don't like the person or even like respect them as a human being, but there's a difference between them as a human being and them as a wrestler. And I'm not saying anything bad about Sid. I'm just saying whether people like him or
Hmm.
not, as a wrestler, I'm going to respect him for what he's done in the business before I got in there. So I did whatever he wanted. And he would look at me and try to explain himself. And I told him, shut up. I said, dog,
No.
we're good. I'll do whatever you want. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
that's it. That's usually how I am with most veterans who came years before me. I'll just be like, yeah, whatever you want. Just know I'm going to bring it and we're good. Just know I'm going to bring it and it's not personal. I'm not trying to do anything crazy. I'm just me. And all of them always say, okay, man, bring it. And I'm like, all right, cool. And then usually I have fun with them. You know what I
On
mean?
that,
After the match with Sid, I just sat down, bullshitted with him. He wanted to kill the promoter, and I was like, "No, that's."
it's very on
When
brand.
I realized he was serious about wanting to kill the promoter, Homicide was there, and Low Key was visiting. I think at the time he was in WWE. He was visiting, and I just said, "Okay, man, I'm gonna get paid and get out of here. Bye." I didn't want to be around just in case, Sid lived up to his nickname of Psycho.
Mm. Speaking of veterans, one in particular, of course, I made the video about your match versus Akiyama. When you're wrestling a guy who you've spent like hours upon hours of your life watching, what is that just come naturally? Because there's a few, I talked to you about this, but there's like a few callbacks to like even his
Yeah,
debut
you saw
match you
it.
have in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, like it's that just like you were
that
just
just
ready.
happened.
Yeah,
That
you could
just
just,
happened. Yeah,
yeah.
and he knew that I knew,
Hmm.
and I remember talking to him in the back about it after we fought. It was nothing but respect. It wasn't like most guys who I fight in wrestling where it's like I don't even want to see them
Hmm.
for the rest of the day or maybe ever. With him, I ran right to the back to see if everything was okay, if he enjoyed my fight, his fight. You know what I mean? If he enjoyed
Hmm.
AEW, I wanted to make sure he was good. And he just kind of chuckled and through a translator was like, he said I got him good a couple times, and he understood, and he knew that I would know what to do, and that meant so much. And the thing he said to me that makes me the reason why I'm still wrestling,
Hmm.
and they please someone clickbait this shit. This is what matters. The reason why I'm still wrestling, and the reason why I believe I could be AEW, not even AEW, but I could be the world champion at AEW, is because Akiyama said I could. And he said, I believe you'll be AEW champion. And everyone's like, oh, but you were Continental. And I'm proud. I'm super proud of that. You know what I mean? But the top of this game is the world championship. That's the top of the game. And right now, Swerve's the best wrestler in the world because that's how I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's my opinion. Like my mother said, opinions are like assholes. Everyone got one and they all stink. So, but that's why I'm still in this game and why I'm still pushing through because of the words that Akiyama said to me. And that makes me truly believe that I can be world champion.
Oh yeah, I mean, if Akiyama, if especially if Kenta Kobashi told me to like I could do heart surgery, I'd believe him. So
Yeah,
there's
first
a
thing
there's a
you're just
magic in
setting
some of
it
those
up.
old timers.
Yeah, yeah.
So there was you once said that you were told that Kawada studied how boxers were knocked out, and then you looked at that yourself. Are there
Yeah.
any specific combat sports knockouts you've emulated in yourselves?
A lot of boxing, a lot of MMA, uh, a lot of back in the well now I'm not on Twitter, but I heard on Twitter there's like at least one post a day about some video of someone getting punched in the face. But no, that's what I usually study
Mm-hmm.
is that because I want to make it as realistic as possible. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And again, one of my heroes did, so why not me? Like I
Yeah.
tell people, I try to whether I like said person's wrestling style or not, if they were top of the card, if they were top draws for the company, they had to do something right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to study them or see what they said. I took in things from all my heroes, but then I look at Rock and Austin,
Mm-hmm.
who I tell everyone this story. They said them, I heard them on, I think it was like True Hollywood Story or something, something crazy. Because when wrestling was everywhere, folks, on every channel. Like everybody was doing some type of documentary or something. And they asked both of them, who's The Rock, who's Stone Cold? And they said it's a piece of them turned up 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
And that stuck with me. So Eddie Kingston's me, just a piece of me turned up to 1,000. And that's why I can be so honest and raw with everything I do and say, because it's basically when I sit there, I go, what would I really do if
Mm-hmm.
I was allowed to commit assault, basically? You know what I mean? So that's you always try to take from the people that A inspired you and B who actually were top people.
That makes perfect sense. Something I referenced in the Akiyama video as well is there's that one of those old school shoot interviews you did with the late great Brody Lee, in which he's ribbing you about you working in Japan. And of
Yeah.
course, last year you did the G1, but you're real despondent there, talking about how that'll never happen. Would Brody be here telling you I told you so in no
Oh
uncertain
yeah.
terms? Yeah.
Oh yeah. He loved it. He loved being right. That's right. You can ask his wife about that. He loved being right. Loved it. So, but Brody would have been like, "Oh, I told you so. You're the guy that said this and that and da 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 da," and just really make me hate the fact that he was right. But
He seems real confident that you were gonna make it, even if you weren't.
he, I tell everyone this. He was one of the few people who would who how can I put? He was one of the few people that really believed in me
Mm-hmm.
when I didn't believe in myself,
Mm-hmm.
and he would legit get annoyed when I would downplay myself. He would legit get annoyed and just I think he wanted to fight me a couple times. You know what I mean? Because I'll be like, whatever, whatever. Because it just that's my nature. But also, I gotta change that. Because sooner or later, you gotta move forward in life. You know what I mean? And I'm working on it. I'm working on my
Mm-hmm.
ego and I'm working on trying to believe in myself more. But you gotta remember, I have years of downplaying myself to get past first. But yeah, Brody was always there, man. Always believed in me. And my first match with Mox on Dynamite in Jacksonville, I was standing there just stretching, getting ready to go, and he comes up to me and he goes, "This is not the Eddie Kingston I know. Why are you so quiet?" Nah, just getting to that. And then he pushed me and he
Mm-hmm.
goes, "Where's Eddie Kingston?" And pushed me again. And then I got annoyed and pushed him back. And he took like 2 steps back and he goes, "Oh, there he is," and then walked away. I said, "You motherfucker." He just wanted me to be loose and be ready to go. And you know, things like that you don't forget about people. You know what I mean? And I will forever be grateful for knowing that man
Hmm.
and being able to call him a friend and just just knowing him. Knowing Brody was something that uh I was truly blessed. God put him there for me and it was amazing.
Going back to, I mean, the system that helped develop both of you of Chikara, what do you think made it so special? Because it is a strange, like, I can only describe as like chaos vortex that just created it, it kind of went out with a whimper, but then here we are in 2024, and you look at AEW, and there's just so many Chikara guys there. What do you think about that
Yeah.
system made it so special?
Well, we were taught, I know a lot of us were taught that story's number one. So a
Hmm.
lot of us took that to heart. And then the moves were secondary, we were taught. And Quack was a great trainer to all of us. You know what I mean? And, I don't know what happened at the end. That was during the Me Too movement. I believe it
Hmm.
was during COVID.
Yeah.
And I got real sick of it. So I just stopped opening
Hmm.
my Twitter because it was just every day it was disgusting. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Not what the people were,
Yeah,
say. It
yeah,
was disgusting that
yeah,
you find out that certain people and you're like, what's going on here? I was just with said person, or
yeah.
you know what I mean? I thought I knew
Hmm.
said person. But uh again, I don't know the whole thing with Quack, but only thing I know
Hmm.
about Quack was with me and with I say
Hmm.
the first four classes of
Yeah.
Chikara, he taught us all great. And the reason why I believe the reason why he taught us so well was because he needed us to do his thing, his Chikara thing, which was basically comic books. It was a comic book show before the comic book movies really took off.
Hmm.
I remember talking to Quack one day and he said Marvel movies are going to be huge. And this was around the time maybe the second Iron Man movie came out. So it was big, but not,
Jeez.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It wasn't huge, but he kept saying, trust me, these things are going to take off and we're going to find our niche in it. And we did. You know what I mean? We got 1,500 in Eastern Pennsylvania one time, and I was like, how does this happen? We just hit a certain, you know, crowd, and they loved that comic book style, and they loved the characters. And Chikara was very heavily influenced by Michinoku Pro and Lucha Libre.
Hmm.
And then here I come, inspired by totally different things, but it worked. It worked because he knew how to. He did what every great promoter booker does, which is he showed our strengths and hid our weaknesses. You know what I mean? Like he knew he's not gonna put Eddie Kingston in a mask and tell me to be
Hmm.
a luchador. You know what I mean? He's gonna go with my strengths. Same thing with Brody. I remember Brody came in acting like one of the Olsen twins with like feather tassels on his boots and everything like that. And I remember Quack and Mitch Ryder, rest in peace, at the time were like, no, this is
Hmm.
what you are. You're the big rig now. And that kind of changed him and he went his way. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
it was good stories, man. He had good stories. And granted, it was geeky, it was comic booky, it was nerdy, whatever you want to call it. But that's what that crowd expected from Chikara.
Because it's something
And
I was very interested in is so pulling back the curtain here, in 2022, I over the summer I trained for about 6 months in pro wrestling, but then I had to stop for college. Maybe I'll go back someday. But I shit you not, one of the things my trainer, his name's Jake Oman, he's done the Midwest indie scene a little bit, a lot. But he had me fill out, it was like something Quack made way back in the day, where it was like a list of moves you fill out that you want
the
to learn throughout
signature
your.
set.
Yes,
Yes,
it's
yes.
still around. So I was curious.
I bring that to all the younger guys. I go, what's the signature set? What are
Mhm.
the moves? Yeah, and that was the thing Quack beat into us as well. You know what I mean?
'Cause-
And it was very Japanese style esque. If you
mhm.
go and you actually study like you said, the Three Musketeers and the Four Pillars, they had a signature set, and that was what
Hmm.
Quack also instilled in us. That's awesome. That's still going around.
Oh yeah. Well, because what I guess what I was thinking was what you're talking about, how you're very different than most of the people in Chikara at that time. About I had to assume that was part of the reason why there's so many unique people working there, is because he's like, all right, I'll let you. This is your shit. Fill out your shit. You can get it down, and I'll show you how to do it, and we'll go from there. And yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
still very much going around.
He always went with what we were inspired by. He always
Hmm.
wanted to know what inspired us to be wrestlers and what wrestlers inspired us in the ring.
Hmm.
And he tried to play off that. You know what I mean? Like he knew what I loved and what I liked, and especially when he would try to write stories
Hmm.
for me, angles or whatever you want to call it. He knew I was into Memphis and ECW, so he tried to make it a little bit more rough, but
Hmm.
rough in a PG kind of way.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Which was fine, and I loved it because it felt like he was trying to cater to me, even though he wasn't. He was just trying to do what's right for the company. But it feels good when when someone anybody looks out and goes, "Oh, this is what they like. Let me try to work with this." You know what I mean? Again, I don't know about all the other
Hmm.
stuff that happened after I wasn't there at Chikara at that time,
Hmm.
and I still don't know all the allegations and everything like that. And I hate the way that Chikara went out. I
Yeah.
still can't stand that, and it
Hmm.
bothers me. But then I look at the AEW locker room and I see so many guys that were there, either trained there or came through there, and that makes me feel good. You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
remember when this whole thing went down, I wasn't part of AEW yet, but Bryce Remsburg called me and he was a little, he was off, despondent, I guess you could say,
Hmm.
about the whole thing that's happening and how Chikara shut down. And I just told him the truth. I said, look, man, whatever happened, we weren't there. We didn't know what was going on. But also, people can bash Chikara all they want, but they can't take away what we did during those years we were there.
Hmm.
And I like to firmly believe that we were the number 3 indie company at one point in time, behind either Ring of Honor and CZW or Ring of
PWG.
Honor and Mid South and all that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like we were always a strong number 3, and at some point, maybe a number 2. You know what I mean? But I just, like I told Bryce, they can't take away what we did.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? None of the stuff can take away what we did when we were there. So,
So we've talked about dream matches, people. I want to know though, however, sort of the opposite, but who's a wrestler you didn't expect to love wrestling but did?
hmm, that's funny. I don't know, man, because usually I don't like people anyway, so it's gonna be a hard one. Most of the people I wrestle, I really don't like. That I don't know
Hmm.
why. That's been my career story.
Hmm.
People have noticed, oh yeah, put Eddie in there with somebody else and like he'll have a good fight. They know not a
Hmm.
wrestling match. I'll have a good fight with somebody.
Hmm. I'm just talking about their style, how they match up with you.
Yeah,
Like you
yeah. I
didn't,
kind
yeah.
of man, I gotta say Hollow Wicked, and this is
Okay.
going back years. This is
Hmm.
like 2007. Because Hollow Wicked probably the best student to come out of Chikara, and I know I'm not the only one to say that. But he had a very lucha-esque style, and I didn't think we were gonna mesh, but we did. And I gotta say, definitely Hollow Wicked was someone that took me by surprise.
How much have you delved into old school Puerto Rican wrestling? I was curious about that. And if so, do
Uh,
you have any favorites?
Not a lot. I haven't dug
Hmm.
in a lot, but I have watched it because, like I said, the styles like Memphis and ECW inspired me. So of course, I went back and watched some of the old school Puerto Rican wrestling, and they were just as violent and just as crazy, and got me into it. I just never really followed up
Hmm.
on it. But when I see like an old, if I'm on YouTube, which is a lot, or on my drive, that thank God someone sent me a drive of like a history of matches. If I see WWC, I'm gonna click on it right away to see what it is, And I
Hmm.
can't really tell you the guys or the people. I'm not in depth with it as much as I am with other things,
Hmm.
but I tell people all the time, that's the style. If you want to see something gritty, if you want to know what inspires me, definitely watch some Puerto Rico wrestling because that inspired me as well with the grittiness and the realism. And, you know, again, at the time, I thought as a kid, they used to have some Puerto Rican wrestling come up in the Bronx, like
Hmm.
on Channel 13 or something. And like, I thought that was real. I thought that was real. I thought NWA was real. WWF was always fake to me. But because the other places bled and the guys hitting each other with things, and I was just like, this is a. So definitely that, and because of Puerto Rico and NWA realism, that's why I got into ECW, and then I found Memphis because me and my mom actually talked about this the other day, laughing. Again, I was a hyper kid, so the only way I would shut up and not move is when wrestling was on. So my mom just bought me a tape. She didn't know what it was. She just went to Video Visions, bought me a random tape, and it was Memphis's bloodiest brawls and blood, whatever. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching the concession stand brawl, and I'm watching all this stuff. And my mother's sitting there like, "Oh, he's only 7. Should he be watching this?" But she noticed how I wasn't moving and how I wasn't running around the house breaking toys, or I used to throw my toys out the window on University Avenue in my apartment. Just anything. I was a destructive kid. And she noticed that and she went, "Well, I'll just tell him, whatever she had to tell me about wrestling at the time." She goes, "Well, as long as he's quiet." That's it. We laughed about that the other day. She goes, "Maybe I shouldn't have let you watch that at such a young age, but you know, I said, Mom, when we got HBO, they were showing R-rated movies during the middle of the day. So yeah, I'm an '80s baby. I was gonna grow up fast anyway.
Because I believe in the interview I read, you were talking about, I think they were putting ECW on like the religion channel or something at
Yeah,
night. Yeah.
Channel 48. I'll never
Yeah.
forget that. I'm looking for it. It used to be on MSG, which is a channel in New York. That's where you would see the Yankee game back in the day, Yankees, Knicks, Rangers. And then ECW will be on like Saturday at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Hmm.
And I remember one time looking for it, couldn't find it, went to Channel 48, a religious channel, and out of nowhere, ECW pops on, and I went. So it was kind of perfect, honestly.
It's an interesting combination. So for the last question, it's well, we'll see if it's really a question or a challenge. You're talking about working on yourself, trying to be better. There are those old school shoot interviews where they have people, bear each other. I'm going to give you a name, and I want you to say something nice about them, even if it's someone you may or may not have feuded with. All right? Claudio
Man, there's a lot
Castagnoli.
of people. There's a lot of people I don't like in wrestling because I just
Yeah.
don't like them, and it has nothing to do with wrestling. I just don't like people in general.
Mhm.
My girlfriend tries to get me to leave the house all the time just to go out to eat. And I'm like, why? I left the house the
Mhm.
other day to go to work. She goes, no, how about we go out and go watch a movie? Why? We got the streaming stuff. Let's go out to eat. What, you want to go out to eat? Let's get Uber Eats. I don't like people, but I'll try.
All right. Give me something nice about Claudio.
uh, in all honesty, probably the most underrated worker I've ever seen. My generation's most underrated worker.
Hmm.
I don't think anyone can have a bad match with him. And if you do have a bad match with him, it's not his fault. As a human being, we're not good. But as a wrestler, I had to add that in, you know that. But as
All
a
right.
wrestler, one of the most underrated talents I've ever seen in my life. Like people should be studying him now. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Don't wait till he's done and then say how great he was. You know what I mean? Give the man his flowers now. Other than that, though, I'll be nice. I'll be nice.
All right. Something nice about Kevin Steen.
In all honesty, that's my brother. I love Kevo. I
Yeah.
love that one of the rare people I love. I love Kevo to
There you
death.
go.
I'll never forget, and there's little things that make me love him.
Hmm.
But we always got along. But one time, this before I was in AEW, I was flying home from an indie show in Atlanta, and then I see a bunch of WWE people on my flight, and
Hmm.
I'm just rolling my eyes because half of them I don't know, the other half I do know. I don't want to hear them.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I don't want to hear them bitch and moan while they're making 6 figures, and I'm out here getting $500 paydays sometimes if I get it, or if I have to run down the promoter or go to to his little cash box and take the money he owes me. I don't want to hear about your struggle on TV. You know what I mean? But again, that was, a bitter, angry person. But Kev was there, and he was first class, surprise. And he waited for me to get off the plane, and I was all the way in the back. And he waited for me to get off the plane so he could just talk to me because we haven't seen each other in years. That meant a lot to me because he could have just went home to his wife and his kids. He has beautiful kids, beautiful wife. But no, he said, no, I'll wait. And he waited for me just so we can sit down, just not sit down, but like walk and bullshit until we left the airport. And I'll never forget that. But Kevin's a good one. He's a good one.
All right, the final name. I would like you to say something nice about Chris Hero.
This one's a hard one. Okay. All right. I'll bite the bullet on this one. Without Chris, me and my old partner and my other homeboy, Jigsaw. So it's me, my old partner, Blackjack Marciano, and Jigsaw. If it wasn't for Chris, we would have never went to IWA Mid-South. Chris also taught us a lot as well. Chris is very smart in wrestling, and he taught us a lot. I would never take that from him. He taught us so much. And because of him taking us to IWA Mid-South, me and my partner, but then later on me, because my partner quit. Well, I didn't quit. He just left. I understand why he left. But because of that, IWA Mid-South then became CZW bookings. Because of CZW bookings, I got some Ring of Honor bookings. Then after that, I got more bookings at this indie and this indie. And then things started just rolling. And then people noticed me and Chris not liking each other, but having matches where we just beat the shit out of each other. And me and Chris were legit fighting each other. Not fighting, but like legit hitting each other nice and snug.
They're great matches.
Thank you. I hated all of them because they all hurt. But we took that on the road, and people would book us consistently against each other. So I give Chris a lot of credit for me being able to work more and get my name out there. You know. Other than that, that's it. That's the most honest answer I can give you because that's it.
See, like I said, I this is positive. This is making you a better person today.
Oh no, I know it is, but I tell you right now, once I get off this phone and I go to the gym and go work out, I'm gonna be thinking about what I said. And it may help me get past my workout. Who knows?
Well, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for coming on the channel. This is like one of my bucket list interviews I wanted to get done.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. I just want to tell, the community, the video essay community. I think I said it before you started recording. Please keep going. Please. Just write, do any video essay about wrestling because Meltzer is the historian that did it in, writing and in print and everything like that. You guys, the video essay guys that go on YouTube, their Patreon, all that. I can name a couple of you, but not all of you, but like yourself, Joseph, I'm going to forget names. I shouldn't have started. I know there's a kid who the Kings Road one. He just did a 19. I don't know, but
Four Pillars of Hell.
Yes, yeah. 4 Pillars of Hell. Wrestling Bios, who's covering the Monday Night War. All you guys, and I know there's more. Andos is another one. There's a bunch of you, and I'm sorry if I didn't mention you and I follow you. I apologize. But I do go to your Kim Justice. Trust me, I support you on your Patreons and your Ko-fi. But please keep going because you guys are the historians. So we're gonna need you guys. When I'm gone and other people are dead and gone, they're gonna want to know the history of pro wrestling. And you guys are the historians for right now because we don't have historians. Pro wrestling doesn't have historians like every other sport does. But we have you guys. We have Meltzer. You know what I mean? I don't care about ratings or whatever. Me and Joseph fight all the time about 6'3", 94. And he's not going to beat me because I'm not going to hear him. But without you guys showing the history of things, it just wouldn't happen. So I want to thank you guys, A, and then B, please keep going. I know it's a bitch. I don't know how to edit or do anything like that. So I don't know how bad it is, but I hear it's horrible. Still waiting for Joseph to finish up that 1995 All Japan. You know what I mean? Been waiting for a while, dog. Come on, man. Trying to show people the tag match that, changed everything, But please keep going, guys. That's it. Please keep going. And just know all the boys, because when I show it to them, and some of them come to me and show me things, we all do appreciate it. We really, really do. You'll never know sometimes, but we do appreciate it.
That means a lot. Thank you.